All right, let's hope the show doesn't blow up. Oh, wait, we're on. Hey there, everybody. And you are now behind enemy lines. How you doing out there? Gene Berardelli, Ross Galloway here with you. Ross, the storm is about to start over here, so it might get a little wonky. How are things over by you?
Yeah, it's been going in and out. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully the show holds on.
You know, I can make so many jokes about what you just said. I'm choosing not to. We got our people coming in as we speak right now. We're back after a week hiatus. I decided to take a little me time and just, chill a little bit. All this show prep stuff and all the getting ready every day and going to work and then doing this. It got to me a little bit, so I called an audible and I had to just chill a little.
I actually appreciate it, man. I could use the time off myself, to be honest.
Well, I mean, between the community service and the day job and all that stuff, I can understand that. It's totally okay. But we do have an interesting show for everybody today. I don't know if you saw the title of the show that I came up with for today, trying to do something. But I called it Political Turf Wars because the past week and a half, the news has been dominated by territorial battles politically, whether you're talking about gerrymandering or if you're talking about what's going on in D.C. with the federal takeover of the police there. So I thought it was like a little clever play on words there. I don't know. I like to think I'm more clever than I actually am sometimes.
What's the saying? Clever by half, or what is it? Clever by half.
What is it to say? Fool me once, shame on.
Shame on. The point is, you can't get fooled again, Gene.
Exactly. They can't get fooled again. I mean, listen. I try to come up with a theme for every show, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You guys let me know if we live up to that as I see people coming in on all platforms right now. Thanks if you're watching on KLRN, if you're watching on X, anywhere on X, really. My account, KLRN, Rick's account. Rick might probably be coming in a little bit. Whether you're watching on Rumble or on YouTube, wherever you are, please subscribe. We got the chat open pretty much everywhere, and if StreamYard does what they say they're supposed to do, I'm supposed to get everybody's chat wherever you are on those platforms on my screen. So give me a holler. Let me know where you guys are, how you doing, and we'll kind of get to what's going on. Oh, the lights are flashing a little bit in here. I think we're okay, but you never know. It's supposed to be a little bit of a summer storm going on right now, but I do hear the Mets playing in the background, so hopefully we got the storm will move quickly overhead, and we can go on. Don't get me started on the Mets. Don't say a word. I know you've been feeling it in your household. I know Dee really well when it comes to the Mets. I'm sure she's been suffering as much as I have.
She watches it in the darkness alone because it's banned in my house since Pride Night, Gene. It should have been banned out of your house since Pride Night, too.
Listen, do you not know about us Met fans? We have no pride.
I know about you Met fans and Pride Nights and guys in little bikini shorts dancing around in the stands. I know all about you guys.
Isn't that how you guys met, though? I mean, you would dance. Never mind. All right, listen, we're going to get started with the show here, folks. Wherever you are, as I said before, please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff that helps the channel grow, wherever you're watching, pretty much. And if you want to chat us up, we're always looking to talk to you guys because we are lonely and desperate. So please drop us a line in the chat. And if you want to really get our attention, there's always those super chats as well on YouTube. Rick saying, if you need a third wheel, I can sit in case he drops again. Okay, so Rick's trying to go after my job. But, he's supposed to be my friend. I'll send you the link, pal, if you want to come on. But I don't appreciate you coming at me like that.
Bring him on, buddy. We've been talking about nonsense for the last 6 minutes now.
Oh, my goodness. A whole 6 minutes of non-political talk. What will Galloway do? Hang on a second. I'm going to send him the link. And in the meantime, what do you want to talk about first? Do you want to talk about what's going on with the gerrymandering situation in Texas, or do you want to talk about the issues with the DC police first?
I'll let you, dealer's choice, Gene.
Oh my God, I'm trying to do something here. Can you just vamp for a second? My God, man.
Let's do it, man. Where's Rick? Get Rick in here.
I sent him the link to Messenger, Rick. So if you're on there, I'll see you pop in soon. Let's start with gerrymandering because this has been going on for a while, and we'll get everybody caught up on that issue. So apparently there was a Supreme Court decision that Governor Abbott took notice of, Texas Governor Abbott took notice of, regarding gerrymandering, and he decided to call for a redistricting of the congressional lines. And what we're looking at right now is sort of a game of chicken going on between Texas and primarily Governor Pritzker of Illinois and Gavin Newsom in California. I know Kathy Hochul likes to think that she's involved in all this too, but I don't know if it's going to be as easy to do in the People's Republic of New York. So, like I said, it's sort of a political game of chicken right now, where Texas could gain congressional seats and make it a little bit easier for the House to operate with a Republican majority. In the meantime, you have people like Gavin Newsom threatening to further gerrymander their state. And I just want to let's start the conversation off by showing you this. Let me see if I can pull up this image right now. Give me 1 second here. See, go away for a couple of weeks and you end up losing the ability to control the show. That's the wrong button there. We're going to share the screen here. I want to show you what it looks like in, let me see, do I still have it open? How do I not have it? I got to have it open somewhere. Oh boy. Okay, so it's over there on that screen. Let me see, I got to carry the one. Here it is. Let's share this screen right here. Ross, you know what you're looking at right now?
What is that?
That, my friend, is Southern California. It's a map of the congressional districts in that area. Now, I don't know if you can tell based on the size on the screen right now, but you're looking at about, let me, quick rough count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, looking at about 13 or 14 congressional districts, all in the Southern California area. Do we want to really talk about gerrymandering? Really, really, Governor Newsom? Look at 45 in the center there, that blue one right in the center. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so I mean, with gerrymandering, I'm on the fence with this, to be honest with you, Gene. First of all, Democrat states are way worse at gerrymandering than Republican states, right? Because Republicans, they usually pull the Berardelli card where we're going to take the high road and try to do the right thing and not make it totally obvious that we're going to gerrymander. But my point that I'm trying to make here, Gene, is if you look at the Constitution, right, it does say that you conduct a census every 10 years, and that's used for apportionment, but it's up to the state legislatures to decide how to apportion those congressional districts and those votes. So I'm not really, like, I get what the Supreme Court's position is on this, and I don't always agree with court precedent. I actually disagree with it quite often because I don't understand why the Supreme Court even got that power to overrule like a state legislature. But to me, gerrymandering is constitutional. If you ask, prove it ain't. Some guy in a black robe said it ain't. That's the only reason why.
As we bring Rowdy Rick Robinson in to the conversation here, how you doing, my man? Don't take my job, please. I know you're better than me at this, but let me keep what I have, what little bit I have.
Whatever. I'm not better at you than anything. I'm just saying. I thought it was Ross dropping off because I was only half paying attention.
Oh no, it would be me. It would be me dropping off because I'm in the middle of a thunderstorm out here. So.
Well, if we lose you on our end, I'll just send him a link to the restream that's already carrying your show anyway, and we'll just keep going without you till you come back.
Fantastic. That works for me.
You know what? I like it.
But listen, I want to get your take, Rick, on this whole battle of chicken, basically, between Newsom and Governor Abbott over gerrymandering. We just saw what California does in Southern California. And,
okay. So let me put as fine a point on this as I can. What Texas is doing is perfectly legal based on their state constitution. What Gavin Newsom is threatening to do is completely illegal based on California's state constitution, not to mention the fact that they've already strangled California so hard democratically that it's already got blue balls. So what the hell else are they going to gerrymander? There's nothing left. There's and even the few districts that are supposedly, heavily Republican, they count votes till they swing them blue anyway. So what's the difference?
Absolutely. Now, in the People's Republic of New York, believe it or not, it's supposed to go through an independent commission. And the last time we tried to draw congressional lines, it actually had to go to federal court, and the court ended up drawing the lines, not the legislature. Let's let Governor Abbott explain what he's accomplishing here. This is from an interview he did on Fox News.
Much. Can you tell us from your perspective, what is the issue? Why did they leave?
So they're leaving, and they've left because they're very un-Texan. Texans don't run from a fight, and there's a fight going on in the legislature right now about redistricting as well as other things. But I'll make two quick points, Dana, about this. For one, to run to states like New York and Illinois to protest redistricting is kind of like running to Wisconsin to protest cheese. It's just kind of outrageous. Those are New York and Illinois are two hallmark states that have already done redistricting to eliminate Republicans.
So, by the way, I should mention that when the Texas GOP tried to go through this redistricting process, the way that Democrats responded to it in the legislature is they bugged out. They literally left the state so that there wouldn't be a quorum and they couldn't bring it up for a vote. Certainly is a dereliction of duty, Galloway, for a duly elected representative to leave their state. Certainly not unheard of, though.
Yeah, I mean, they've done this before, and I really hope that Governor Abbott follows through on some of the stuff that him and Ken Paxton have been talking about over there, their attorney general. They're raising funds to support them. They make $600 a month, the Texas legislators, and it's a part-time gig. They're getting fined $500 a day for not performing their duties in this special session. So they're all a lot of them are raising funds to help pay for that. Now that, you're a lawyer, it looks a lot like bribery, right? If you get paid to perform or not perform an official act, right? If you accept something of value, that certainly looks like bribery to me. And I really hope they're prosecuted. When we talk about a threat to democracy, this is it. They're literally just they're fleeing to another state, which is actually more gerrymandered than anything Texas is even trying to do, just to lock down the system and not allow the people who were elected to represent Texans cast a vote. Threat to democracy, anyone?
Certainly sounds like a threat to democracy. I might be lagging a little bit here, guys, so forgive me if there's any delay. But yeah, Christy just said, and I put up on the screen, un-Texan's her new favorite word. But I will, okay, so let me push back just for a second, because I seem to remember Republicans leaving Portland in protest of legislative measures that the supermajority of Democrats were trying to do there during the Summer of Love. So, and I guess, Rick, I'll give you the tough question on this. Why isn't this fair game?
I mean, I was kind of pissed off at Republicans for doing what they were doing in Oregon too, though. So for me, it isn't fair game, because the whole thing about it is you're supposed to be fighting for what you believe in those positions. So if nothing else, just make people understand why it is that you are not supporting these things, and don't just walk away from the fight. We have that happen all the time. I mean, so yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the last time Republicans did this either, because I mean, it literally is dereliction of your duty. I mean, you're being sent there. I mean, granted, most state legislatures is kind of a part-time gig. It's not paid. They're not paid a lot like they are at the federal level, but you still signed up for this. So let people know why it is that you don't think these things are good ideas. And then you have to realize that, unfortunately, if you're in the minority, that means the people that voted are getting what they wanted. So sometimes you just have to get out of the way and let them get what they want. That's one of the things that I never really have understood anywhere. That's like everybody screaming and yelling about California and Washington, D.C. and everything else. You know what? That's what these people are voting for. Make them sleep in the bed that they're making and maybe eventually they'll change their mind about how they vote. As long as people keep coming in and fixing it for them, they're never going to learn. So I'm not even a big fan of what's happening in Washington, D.C. right now. I understand why he's doing it, and it makes sense that he's doing it, and I can defend the fact that he's doing it, but that's what these people keep voting for, are these same policies. The Democrats have ran Washington, D.C. for 50 years at the local level. For as long as they've had a governor and as long as they've had a city council in this most recent time frame, they have been in charge. If they're the party that's supposed to make everything better, why is D.C. a cesspool? Why is D.C. the largest income gap in the country between white people and people of color if they've been in charge for 50 years?
And we're going to certainly get to some DC discussion later on in the show. Let's go back to what Governor Abbott was talking about here. And then we're going to go on to a clip where, of all people, Stephen Colbert is going to confront Governor Pritzker over gerrymandering. And while these clips are playing, folks, if you're wherever you are, drop a like wherever you're watching the video so we know that you guys are watching and enjoying what you're seeing here.
But the second thing is far more serious, and that is what these Democrats have done. Just a small fraction of them were needed to break a quorum, and that small fraction is holding hostage legislation in the state of Texas where we will be able to provide assistance and reform for all of the victims of that horrific flooding that we've had in the state of Texas. Our fellow Texans are being let down and not getting the flood relief they need because these Democrats have absconded from the responsibility, and I believe they have forfeited their seats in the state legislature because they're not doing the job they were elected to do.
And that's what you were talking about earlier, Galloway, what I believe Ken Paxton is trying to do. Or did I get that wrong?
I don't know if he can hear you.
I don't know.
I can hear you.
Ross, are you there? All right. If he's,
maybe it was Ross. Maybe it's Ross lagging. He's frozen.
Yeah, he might be a little bit. Anyway, hold that thought because we do have a super chat from Christy Turtle here. I love you so much. Thanks for joining us. Yes, Untexan is fire. I love that. But I believe, and Ross, just hit me up in the private chat when you get back to us. If you can hear us, if you're not lagging anymore, that'll be great to know. Hold on, let me check that. Yes, we're paging you as we speak. Paging Dr. Galloway. I believe that Texas has started to take steps to try to remove these dilatory legislators. I think Ross is back with us now. That's what you were talking about earlier, right, pal?
Say that last part again, Gene.
I was asking if you were the part that Governor Abbott was just speaking about concerning the possible removal of legislators. That's what you were referring to earlier, right? They've taken steps already in the courts to start to do that.
Yeah, well, he was talking about possibly removing them, possibly charging them criminally for bribery because they're raising money. You don't get to just not show up, right? You go, you cast your vote, and you lose, and that's it. Like this whole thing of not showing up. Gene, have you ever had a job where you could just not show up? Was that an option?
No, I've never had a no-show job.
So I think Governor Abbott is right. Like it has to be in the Texas state constitution somewhere where if you just get elected and don't show up to your job, you have resigned, right? You quiet quit.
Yeah, well, quiet quit. I don't know if they're quiet quitting though, because they're not being so quiet about it, Rick.
No, I mean, but he's got a point. I mean, any other job, if you just don't show up for 2 or 3, 4 days, you're fired. How come? Why is that not a thing for Congress critters, whether it's state, federal, whatever? Because I mean, I know every job I've had in recent history, if I don't call in for 3 days straight, they consider that voluntary termination. So,
right. So I'm looking it up right now, and it looks like Governor Abbott has filed litigation aimed at removing one of the, I guess, ringleaders, you want to call them, of this Democrats fleeing. His name is Gene Wu. Why is it got to be a Gene, man? He's the chair of the Texas House Democratic Caucus, and Abbott has
every time I see Rick Wilson on my feed. Every time I see Rick Wilson on my feed, I'm like, dude, why do you have to have my first name, bro?
Yeah, right. They ruined it for all of us. So Abbott is asking the Texas Supreme Court to remove Wu from office and declare his seat vacant, arguing that Wu abandoned his office by leaving the state to prevent the redistricting vote. Then days after that filing from Abbott, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton brought his own lawsuit against Wu and 12 other Democrats to remove them as well. So obviously, Democrats think this is part of the escalation of the political battle over redistricting. Wu argued in response that the only entity with the power to remove him from office is the Texas House themselves through a 2/3 majority vote. But Wu did acknowledge in a 2021 Texas Supreme Court ruling that the state constitution enables quorum breaking. So he argued that as well. Abbott said the Constitution merely recognized the practical ability to disrupt a quorum, but not give legislators the right to do so. In other words, the Constitution enables quorum breaking the same way that a highway enables one to reach speeds of 120 miles an hour in a 60-mile-an-hour zone, Abbott argued. So just because the highway is there doesn't mean you can break the law while using it. So those are some of the legal machinations going on right now. But it seems like in the culture war, the Democrats are sort of losing this battle. If you believe what you saw on, I can't believe I'm saying this, Stephen Colbert's Late Show, where he actually confronted Governor Pritzker, who was making the rounds trying to be a hero of the left, with his own congressional map for his state.
In Illinois, take a look at this. Look at 17 here. It does that. Then it comes up here and it sneaks around there and goes all the way up here and then goes right over there like that. And look at this one, kind of goes whoop up there. It's like the stinger on a scorpion down here. Is this common for all states to do?
Well, we handed it over to a kindergarten class and let them decide.
Okay, that's the.
Yeah, no joke is going to help him out in defending his own lines here. The hypocrisy of all this. The answer to Stephen Colbert's question, Galloway, I'm sure you'll agree with me, is yes. We all do it. They all do it. They love to do it. Whoever's in charge at the end of the year will want to draw the maps as favorably to them as possible. There are constitutional limits on it. And yeah, this is how it's been done. People may not know about it. People may not like it. But Ross, this is how the sausage is made.
Well, Gene, there are actually very few constitutional limits on it. Very few. As a matter of fact, it's just that they be evenly apportioned with no less than 30,000 people, right? So like I'm not going to beat this dead horse, but gerrymandering is 100% constitutional. I don't care what the Supreme Court says. As a matter of fact, the Supreme Court and the Civil Rights Act and the Democrats really, and a lot of Republicans fall into this trap too, they have gerrymandered for years, just like that map that Pritzker's holding, based on race, right? And the argument used to be, do you have a majority-minority district? That would almost guarantee that they elect minority representation, or do you dilute them into several districts so that they have a say in more than just one district, right?
Yeah, I mean,
here's the irony.
This is not new to anyone.
Texas is trying to do Hispanic districts with those new lines.
Yeah. And the reason why they're doing it, obviously, Rick, is because that would be more Republican. It'll be favoring Republicans in Texas. By the way, I have to bring this clip up. Just bear with me for 4 seconds.
Come on, you do it. You know you do
it.
We all do it.
I mean, well, that's just it. And this is a game that everybody plays. Even in Oklahoma, when we used to have, because up until recently, there was a lot of time that, there were Democratic governors in Oklahoma and Democratic, state and House members. So, and anytime they got control of everything, they tried to favorably redraw the district so they could try to keep control of it. This is how the game is played. I'm not upset about that. What I'm upset about is now the left, who has gerrymandered the hell out of every blue state possible because they've managed to find a way to have stranglehold control of most of them for decades or more. is now upset that Republicans are finally starting to play the game the same way that they play it, and not just be like, oh, it doesn't matter if we lose as long as we lose with honor. When they're trying to kill you, it doesn't matter. It does matter if you lose. They are trying to wipe us off the map. They don't want us here. The Democrats have plainly told us in the last 4 election cycles that we are the enemy. We are the enemies of democracy. We are the enemies of freedom. But the thing that they're not telling you is those words don't mean what they used to mean. When they talk about freedom and democracy, they're talking about their versions of freedom and democracy, which is all about control. Because as long as you think like they think, you're fine. The second you don't, you're the enemy. Again, look at most of Trump's cabinet. Where did they come from? They weren't Republicans until 5 minutes ago because the Democrats shoved them out the door.
Can you just do me a favor? Why are Democrats Kermit the Frog in your universe? Because you just did a voice that was like, I don't get that. Can you elaborate on the voice?
Because it's not easy being blue, especially for them lately. That's why.
No, dude, come on, man. Do the voice. Do the voice again.
I didn't even purposely do the voice, so I don't know how to do it again.
Because you were like, well, I can't do it. I don't do voices, but you whatever you just did is like, well, I'm a Democrat, and I don't know what the hell that was, but it was cool as
that
hell.
was my impersonation of you. How did I do?
That was not great. I don't sound like that.
Are you sure? Have you listened to yourself?
I know I have a high-pitched squeaky voice, but I know it does not sound like Kermit the Frog. I mean, I can become a little more. I can hold my nose and be a little more nasally if you want, but other than that, no, not really.
No, normally if I'm purposely slipping into an impression, it's more like this one. Screw you guys, I'm going home.
Oh, okay, well, that voice might be copywritten for all I know. But it's very interesting to me, Ross, that Democrats are choosing to respond to the threat of gerrymandering with more gerrymandering. I did a little bit of a short video this week on Eric Holder's interview over the weekend with Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, a friendly outlet for him. I need you guys to listen to this. We're going to let this play out a little bit. I want to get your reaction to, first of all, what Eric Holder is currently doing right now and what his arguments are to save the country from gerrymandering.
Mr. Holder, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good to see you.
It's great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I want to start off by asking you this morning, the homepage of the group you lead, the National Democratic Redistricting Committee, says, quote, there is no off-season in redistricting. Gerrymandering poses a critical threat to our democracy.
Everything's a threat to democracy, isn't it? That's their call to action. But let's keep going on.
Everything's a threat to democracy. Is anything actually a threat to democracy?
If everything's a threat, then nothing's a threat.
But now you're arguing that Democrats are going to have to use gerrymandering, quote, in order to save our democracy. So let me ask you, how...
So is it the threat to democracy or is it the cure for democracy, Galloway?
I haven't seen this clip. I'm dying to hear what he has to say because this is an odd occurrence of actual journalistic questions here from her.
Yeah, I mean, and Holder's about to find out that this isn't a parachute; it's a knapsack.
Can gerrymandering both be a threat to democracy and also the way to save it?
Well, there's no question that gerrymandering is a threat to our democracy. It allows politicians to pick their voters as opposed to citizens choosing their representatives. But we are now in a situation where we find ourselves where authoritarian moves are being made by the White House through various states, Texas most prominent among them, and there has to be a response to that. What I've said is that we have to protect our democracy now if we ultimately want to be able to save it. And
by doing the thing that your website for your organization calls a threat to democracy. Just want to make that clear to everyone. This is the clearest example of double talk, Galloway, that I've seen recently.
And this is why I say, Gene, we take no prisoners when we fight them. Thank God that Governor Abbott is stepping up. DeSantis started talking about it. They started talking about it in South Carolina. You have to fight like they fight, okay? Why don't they go to the courts? I thought the courts was the way to resolve these types of disputes. Instead, they're just going to do the thing that they're saying is the threat to democracy, right? They're full of shit. And call their bluff. Abbott actually had a great Donald Trump-ish moment the other day where remember when Donald Trump said the wall just got 10 feet higher? Abbott saying, you know what? Instead of 5 seats, maybe we go for 8. You know what I mean? Keep playing this game. And that's what we should do, to be honest.
Yeah. And but believe it or not, pal, it gets worse from Holder. Listen to this nonsense coming up.
So taking the reasonable steps that have been proposed in California, I think it makes a great deal of sense in this moment, a temporary way in which to respond to that which is happening in Texas, with the thought that after this crisis has passed, we get back to the fight against gerrymandering by anybody.
So in other words, we're just going to temporarily act to take as many seats as we can, but then we'll go back to normal and we'll set things right and reset it. Because, you know, government is famous for giving up power once they grab it. Have you ever heard such nonsense, Rick?
No. Well, I mean, this goes back to something that we've talked about for years now. Once any type of government program is instituted, it never stops. Just like pretty much anything else the government ever tries to do, once it gets started, they never want to stop it. So yeah, the whole idea of we'll just do it for now and then we'll change it back. No,
that's the voice. That's the voice.
Yeah, I figured out which one you were talking about, so I went with it that time. But yeah, no, I mean that's the whole thing. You know, it's we'll fix it later after we break it. Yeah, no, that's not how any of this works. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. But it's exactly why and Ross agrees with me because I've said it on this program. I think the Republicans, while they have control of everything, need to get rid of the 60 vote threshold for everything, pass everything they can, then pack the court, because if we don't, they will, and then put it back and see if they have the balls to do it when they finally get a turn, if they ever get a turn again, because I'm all for making sure they never get to rule ever again, because that's what they try to do to us over and over and over again.
Gene, you know that is the Ross Galloway plan for success. If I've outlined that plan several times on this show. If you remember, people, when the Democrats were in control not long ago, they were consistently beating the drum on making Puerto Rico, and they're still talking about Washington, D.C., making them states, giving them another 4 Democratic senators, which would be almost impossible for us to ever get the majority back again, right? The filibuster, they are the ones who, during federal judgeships confirmation hearings, they're the ones who kept pulling the nuclear option and getting rid of that 60 vote threshold for different levels of judges, right? And if you look at the last round, by the way, Gene, all of Donald Trump's, or the vast majority of it, I think Marco Rubio was the only one that had a healthy number of Democrats vote to confirm him. The Democrats in the Senate just vote no in block, in mass, right? So I'm with Rick. Eliminate the filibuster, look for another conservative area and make them another state or 2, pack the fucking courts, gerrymander as much as we can. And lastly, let me just say this. I'll tell you what they're really afraid of. It's not even the gerrymandering. What they're afraid of, and this is really the point of no return for them, is if Donald Trump gets his way with 2 things. If he can end birthright citizenship and get illegals not counted in the census for apportionment purposes, the Democrats will never hold power in this country again. They're a fraud. That's the only way they get power.
All right.
3/5 compromise 2.0. That's exactly what we're looking at, because it's the Democrats again trying to use people that technically aren't supposed to even be able to vote in federal elections to increase their apportionment levels. So we're looking at 3/5 2.0 is exactly what we're looking at right now if we're not careful.
I think we're going to leave that topic there because we've got other things to get to on the show here, like the grift, folks. We're at about halftime here on the show. Hey, Rick, look out. There's a banner on your head. Thanks for tuning in to Behind Enemy Lines. I'm Gene. That guy over there is Ross. The guy you can't see right now is Rick, and we're glad that you're here with us. Check us out on YouTube, on Rumble, on X. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff that we do. And if you really want to support us, we got merch as well. You can go to shop.buffoonoftheweek.com and see all the merch we got there, including our brand new Cuomo for Prison t-shirts. He decided to run in the People's Republic of New York, and we don't like that. So we have some t-shirts there. You can also check out the stories we put out at buffoonoftheweek.com. And yeah, shout out to our KLRN people who are watching us right now as well. And I want to talk to you guys as well about our sponsor, who you guys have been listening for a while. You know that we love Freedom Chat. I even turned Rick onto Freedom Chat, pal. He's on it with his show, and KLRN is there as well. Freedom Chat is a next generation messaging app that is really revolutionizing the game, folks. It's going to keep your conversations actually private. There's no tracking, there's no screenshotting, there's no linked devices, just total freedom and security. We're building a great little community there, just like I'm sure Rick is as well. And listen, I love sharing behind the scenes stuff on Freedom Chat for our listeners. We do little bonus videos sometimes for them as well. We share things that we upload to various platforms the night before we do it. We do it on Freedom Chat first for our people. These are some of the perks that we want you guys to join. Really a fast-growing app that cares more about messaging than they do about making money off your information.
Ross occasionally posts some things over there, but you got to be quick because he sets them to self-destruct because they can't get out publicly. So.
Yes, it's like Mission Impossible. This message will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
I just sent Rick a picture that's going to self-destruct in 30 seconds. You better hurry up.
Folks, it's more than just a fun app to hang out with your friends and self-destruct messages with. They have end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on any servers, and no commercial use of user data. So all those apps that tell you that everything is safe and secure, like those commercials you might be seeing recently, some of them just do that for like your last 5 messages, and then they harvest that data later on. So don't be fooled. Freedom Chat is the real deal. Check them out, freedomchat.com, or download the app wherever you download your Android or iPhone applications. All right, I think that takes care of the grift, guys. So let's talk about the second half of what we wanted to talk about here in this political turf war themed show, and that is the takeover by the federal government, by the Trump administration, of the DC police. And what I want to focus on, gang, is the inability of the left to have any reaction to this. You know, guys, it's like that meme that you may have seen with the superhero sweating over the 2 buttons. Either you're going to come out against enforcing the law in favor of criminals, or you're going to just be supporting Donald Trump in what he does. It is an impossible position for some liberals to deal with. And what we're seeing, especially on outlets like MSDNC, is that some are choosing to be okay with what Trump is doing, while others are showing that they care more about politics than they do about what's going on in the streets in D.C. Rick, what are you thinking? You're shaking your head. That means you agree with me, and that's scary to me. I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, I touched on this a little bit. I don't like the idea of the federal government stepping in and taking over the police department in DC, but I also we have to go back to this whole abdication of responsibilities thing again, because that's exactly what the mayor of DC has done. That's exactly what the city council of DC has done. And that's exactly what the police, not necessarily the rank and file, but when you've suspended an MPD police commander for doctoring the books, and the Fraternal Order of Police of DC is coming out and saying, this isn't the little issue that they're making it out to be. This is actually a widespread issue in the entire district. And trust me, as somebody who used to carry a badge and a gun for a living, when the FOP is willingly starting to throw people under the bus, that means they know, because that's the police union. They're the ones that are there to try to protect the cops. So when they're when they've taken the blue wall and turned their back on the guy that was cooking the books and coming out and saying, yeah, no, this is worse than you think. This is bad. This is very, very bad. And that's the point that I've been trying to make, which is why I understand why Trump's doing what he's trying to do. One of the things that drives me crazy is you've seen CNN, MSDNC, and all of the above. Well, there's an overall 30% crime drop in DC. And there's an 18% drop in murders. Guess what? From January 1st to August 7th of 2024, there were 113 murders in the District of Columbia. In the same time frame in 2025, there were 99. So talk to me again about that 12% drop in the murder rate, because that's not that great.
Ross, we need more workshop voices. That's clearly the way to go.
There's 898 robberies that have been committed for the first 8 months of the year in the District of Columbia. There are 112 violent carjackings, 137 carjackings total, but 112 violent carjackings. So in the District of Columbia, with a population of 700,000 people, we've already got over 1,300 registered crimes. This is with them failing to report them and also not charging them. So think about what it's really like there. Because the day that Donald Trump said, this is what we're going to do, one of the ABC news desk people said, oh, yeah, it's terrible. I was robbed a couple of years ago. Somebody just had their car stolen from outside the bureau just the other day. So now all of a sudden these people, because the president is doing something, are feeling okay with telling people exactly the bad stuff they've been going through.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I have another example of that from MSDNC, of a reporter giving his own anecdotal experiences with crime in DC. And I think this may be what is driving some of these left-leaning media types to keeping their mouth shut or tacitly endorsing what Donald Trump and the Trump administration is doing.
I live in Washington. This is personal for me. Many people are frustrated with crime that we see, particularly committed by juveniles in the city of Washington. People are frustrated, Willie, that when they go to CVS to buy deodorant, that they have to get it from behind locked plexiglass, right? But the response here, and let me say this, right? These are not just random anecdotes. What we see in Washington Post polling, among others, is that roughly half of DC residents, mostly half of DC residents, view this as a serious problem or an extremely serious problem.
Sounds like they need the help in DC, according to this MSDNC reporter who's in DC. And he says it's not anecdotal, pointing to polling. Ross, I want to get to you for a second here. Is this a case of these reporters looking out for their own asses first rather than caring about some other person's policy position?
I don't know if it's that necessarily. I mean, I genuinely believe some of these people understand that crime is out of control in DC, right? And I think some of the smarter people on the left also understand that they've been taking the 10% side of 90-10 issues, and crime is one of those issues, right? You said a bunch of things. I just want to touch on them real quick. One is like, when they say crime is down, first of all, they say lowest in 30 years. That's complete nonsense. That's definitely not true. Secondly, one of their police chiefs just got fired for lowering crime stats, right? That's corrupt. And it all depends on when you start measuring. If you look at pre-pandemic levels in DC, crime is higher, right? Ever since BLM and defund the police, crime is out of control. So did it go down slightly from maybe last year or 18 months or 17 months and 23 days ago? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It all depends on when you start counting. They did that during COVID. They do that with climate change. It all depends on the date. The other thing that's very important to know about this, Gene, and this is where I slightly disagree with Rick, because as a Republican, your gut says you don't want the federal government taking over localities. So I agree in the sense of other blue cities, right? Like New York, F them. Chicago, don't care. Washington, D.C. is another thing that is in the Constitution. The District of Columbia is part of the federal system. It is not a part of a state. Every law that the D.C. council passes, city council passes, has to be approved by Congress. So the D.C. government has less power than your local HOA board, in effect. Right? So Congress is partially to blame for this too. These no cash bail laws and a bunch of other nonsense that the DC council passed and the mayor signed into law was in fact approved by Congress. That is our capital. It is a district that is separate from all other states. It's mentioned in the Constitution. I support what Donald Trump is doing there. Put the National Guard in, put federal agents in, and Jeanine Pirro, the attorney, U.S. attorney in DC, she's talking about changing some of those laws. We control Congress right now. Here's another chance to act. We have to change the law there so that if you're 17 and you shoot somebody in the chest, you don't get probation, right? You go to jail.
Yeah. No ice cream socials and yoga classes for you.
Oh man, I like the ice cream socials. But okay, so Rick, I just want to explore that position with you a little bit because Ross did bring up a good point. I know you said you're against the federalization of a police force. Would you be against, for example, a state taking over police operations in a city based upon the same idea of home rule? Would you be against that?
Well, I mean, I guess I should clarify the point, and that's one of the reasons why I do support what Trump is doing here, because normally as a Republican, and well, I'm not even really a Republican, little L libertarian, I am more of, people get what they deserve. But he's right. DC is an animal unto itself, and that's why everything that Trump is doing is okay. I wish he didn't have to do it. I'm still not a big fan of it, but I understand everything that he's talking about because, again, you had the fucking Swalwell. Like within 5 minutes of Donald Trump making the announcement and the protest starting, somebody got murdered 2 blocks away from there. Swalwell quote tweets it like 8 hours later and says, "Oh, Trump owns this." Dude, he hadn't even done anything yet. He just made the announcement that they were going to start it. But if he owns that, does that mean you guys own everything that happened before? Because that ain't true either. And it's one of these things where you're just watching these people just shoot themselves in the foot and step on all the rakes that they can find just because they're out to get Donald Trump. So he's right to a point. DC is an animal of itself, in and of itself. I don't like the fact that he's having to do it, but I understand why he's able to do it. And he does have the legal authority to do it. Personally, I don't think DC should have ever been granted a mayorship because it didn't used to have one. There was no mayor and no city council because it was supposed to be an entity completely separate from everything else. So there was no undue city influence on the federal government and no undue state influence on the government. So if we're going to do it, I say we do it. I think at this point we just take it back. It's either that or it's time to give DC back to Maryland and move the capital to the center of the country.
And if you like what he's saying, folks, and if you like what Rick's saying, folks, respond with hashtag RickVoice in the comments. I do want to show you guys the other side. Okay, I didn't hear what you said there, and I probably better off for it. I do want to show you guys the other side of the argument coming from MSDNC. This is more of the political side of the argument. This is an immediate hot take reaction to the press conference that the Trump administration, President Trump, Pam Bondi, Defense Secretary Hegseth, and others were present for. Listen to this, and if I'm going to give a little bit of not a trigger warning, but buckle up because this is the most vile leftist argument I've heard in this whole issue thus far.
Chris, to be honest with you, I'm trying to hold my temper. I think there's an ongoing argument that he's having in his head with Black Lives Matter. There's an ongoing argument that he's having with the questions around criminal justice reform and police reform. It's interesting that he really doesn't really care about what's actually happening in D.C. on a certain level because he's not trying to get at the underlying root causes. He's not looking at examples of how to address rising crime rates that doesn't require a form of policing that leads to increased incarcerality and the like. Let's look at what's going on in Baltimore. Let's look at what's happening actually in places like Baltimore and Chicago, right? So part of what we have to do is to understand, and Oakland, we have to.
And the Mexicans, apparently, too. I mean, good Lord. I mean, he doesn't care about crime. Seems like nobody in D.C. cares about crime because it's still been happening here. And you know what? There was an impetus for Trump to act here. And that is when this kid that's been nicknamed Big Balls, that was part of Doge, interceded in a crime in progress. And he ended up getting beat up for it. When I hear takes like this saying that he doesn't care about crime, and we're bringing up Black Lives Matter for some reason when, during the 4 years during the Biden administration, we didn't hear boo about it. And all these grandiose ideas about police reform, where the hell was this guy talking about what's going on in Baltimore and what's going on in Chicago? And yes, Oakland too. Where the fuck were you with solutions then? You want to talk about crashing out? He's upset that the federal government is taking control of the federal District of Columbia because there's too much crime there. That's a really shitty hot take, isn't it, Galloway?
Yeah, I mean, not to beat this thing to death, but that is our nation's capital, Gene. If I got offered a job in Washington, D.C., I would not take it, right? And it's not because, I don't want to move or start over. There's no amount of money that they could pay me that I would live and work in or around Washington, D.C., right? It is a shithole city. It is dangerous, right? That is not a good thing when a vast majority of sane people don't want to work in the nation's capital where the seat of our government is, right? So that's a problem that has to be fixed, right? It's not just for when foreign dignitaries come and visit us and we want to put on a good show, because I agree with that too. But who wants to work there? Would you go work? Would you or Rick? Rick, would you go take a job in Washington, D.C. and commute on the public transportation there in and out of your job? Would you do it?
Hell no. Hell no. And trust me, I Town Hall is pitching for a host, and I almost thought about moving into the area because you can actually remote work from either Virginia or somewhere near DC. So I almost considered it, but I'm like, but then they were like, sometimes you're gonna have to come into the city, and I'm like, no. Just a side note, I actually used to work with a kid. We used to do a show that was kind of based on the Hannity and Combs model back in the day. Well, the guy who originally co-hosted with me took a job as a librarian, and we used to do it on Saturdays, so he had to quit. So we brought in a kid who had guested with us once, who I didn't know at the time was like 17 years old. Long story short, he did the show until right before he went off to college, and because of some weird rule at his school, I was actually a teacher for a couple of years. But one of the things that I thought was amazing is Well, one of the things that I thought was amazing is because I had to give him homework. I gave him a final grade, a final test, and I said, you have to listen to the first episode we ever did together, listen to the last episode we ever did together, and tell me how your viewpoints have changed since you've been doing the show. And he said, basically, he said, I didn't put this in the report, but I hate you. I was like, why? Because he said, I'm more conservative now than I was before. But here's the kicker. He went to school at George Washington University. He texted me one day because somebody stole his bike. Everybody watched him get his ass kicked as his bike was being stolen, and he's yelling for help, and they didn't do anything. This is 2015. And that he texted me, and I said, dude, why don't you just go ahead and call me? And he's calling me just beside himself. He said, I finally get everything you've been trying to say. He said, I grew up thinking that if bad things happen, somebody was going to be there to help. Everybody just watched me get my ass kicked and get all my stuff stolen. I get it now. That was Washington, D.C. in 2015. I can only imagine what it's like now.
I mean, I can go back to the bad old days when I interned in D.C. and I lived in a single room occupancy that was not in a great neighborhood. And I remember getting off the train at Union Station after going home for a weekend and coming back and trying to get a cab to even go to my neighborhood. There were at least 5 or 6. I arrived back at like midnight or whatever. 5 or 6 cabs refused to even take me to that part of town. I mean, so historically, this has always been a problem in DC that I know of. And, you know, in between mayors getting charged and convicted for, you know, drug possession and then going to prison and then getting reelected and all the things that we've been seeing, you know, they've chosen to handle feel-good lefty issues like, you know, all the gun control measures that they tried to pass that ended up getting overturned. Thank you, Dick Heller. But this has been DC traditionally. And to hear a reporter like we just saw on MSDNC talk about how Trump doesn't really care about it, Democrats haven't really cared about DC for decades. Why am I supposed to take your outrage and believe it now? Especially when I hear law enforcement on the ground saying that we welcome these resources and that Trump is actually starting to see measures on the ground. Galloway shaking his head and agree with me. I must be on the right track.
Scariest thing for me was listening to Joe Scarborough, of all people, talking about how he's been hearing Democrats behind the scenes saying that they wholeheartedly support this, and then he goes and watches them do spots on other networks and saying the exact opposite.
Oh, absolutely. I have a clip ready for if we wanted to play it of Mika Brzezinski interviewing a former Capitol Police chief talking about how he loves what he's seeing out of this partnership. But I don't want to pollute our airwaves with Mika.
Yeah. And it's funny, Gene, because you're talking about your experience there, and that was a while ago. And then we used to go there not long ago, a decade ago, maybe. Right. And it was dirty and there were homeless people everywhere. But there were certain parts of the city, the more trendy spots where the politicos would hang out, that were relatively safe. Every big city is a little dangerous, but relatively safe. And it used to be, and I'm going to say it, it used to be like just the black neighborhoods were the ones you really didn't want to go to. Now the whole Washington, D.C. is a shithole. It don't matter where, right? And who don't care? Rich white liberals who have police protection or private security and get driven everywhere they have to go. They're not taking buses or jumping on the train, right? So they can come on TV and say that we don't need more policing or any federal resources there because they live in a bubble, right? They live in a Virginia suburb. They don't live in D.C. proper, and they don't hang out there ever.
They live in Chevy Chase.
Well, that's like the guy who came on the other day and was like, if you think DC is unsafe, I've lived here for 30 years. Why don't you just take yourselves to Florida and go get fat at Disney World?
It's a Hank Hill voice is what it is. It's Hank Hill and Kermit the Frog together. I think that's why I like the voice. I got, you know what? Gotta leave him laughing on a high note there. So Rick, I know you're a few minutes away from a programming change on KLRN. So why don't you let everybody know what's going on this week on KLRN, where they can listen to you, what's going on. And
all right. Well, you can find me here in a couple of minutes doing the Rick and Morty show, which is every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern. We'll have live streaming programming till about 2 in the morning Eastern because I'm insane. I'll be back in the morning at 10 a.m. Eastern doing the Rick Robinson show. On most weekdays, it's now 10 to noon. Fridays, we still do 10 to 1 because we do the Friday News Roundup with Brad Slager from Red State. Saturday night, I'll be pushing buttons for the Front Porch Forensics crew, which is starting at 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's see. Thursday night, I push buttons for the Disasters in the Making crew. Friday night, He Said, She Said with Aggie Regan. When I'm not doing all that, you can find me as a contributor on twitchy.com, misfitspolitics.com, and I also produce the Loftus Party podcast, which drops on Tuesdays. Did I mention my name's Rick and I'm a workaholic? My last meeting was forever ago.
And I'll also mention that Rick thinks he's the bane of my existence, but in reality, I welcome his presence here. I truly do. He brings an added element to the show.
I just wanted to see if you were ever going to call me out for calling myself the bane of your existence.
No. I figured, listen, it's a bad joke. Why acknowledge the bad joke? I'll let you have it. I'll give you a moment. I'm a giving host. I don't cut you off. I don't shut you out. I let you say your piece. I mean, unlike some other hosts that do that to me when I go on their shows, that oppress me and suppress my voice and prevent me from coming on. And there's documented proof of this. Listen, enough about how good I am. All right, I know you got to do what you got to do.
It's the Irish side of me being antagonistic to your Italianness.
That's racist. Racist, man. Listen, thanks for coming on KLRN Radio, folks. Check out Rick at KLRN Radio on X, also at RowdyRick73 on X. They're both great follows. Have fun with Audie tonight, and just drop me a message in the private chat about the ending and what you see over there. Okay, pal?
Sure. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for having me on.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. All right, we can talk bad about him when he leaves, though, pal, because, man, oh, God. Anyways, time for some final thoughts. I'm going to let you have it, I guess, to start out with here, pal. What you got for me?
So mine's a quick one. Listen, guys, the border is secure. The economy is on fire. The tariffs are working. Inflation is down. We're working on peace deals all across the globe. Donald Trump is cleaning up Washington, D.C., homelessness and crime. I trust this man. Let Donald Trump cook. Buckle up, boys. It's only going to get better. Enjoy these next couple of years, man. The first 4 went by too quick. I got to savor every moment of the next 3 years and change. That's my final thought.
So I'm going to tie in my final thought with a little bit of a story that kind of goes along with the whole Texas gerrymandering thing. I don't know if you saw this in the news, pal, but there was a story from the New York Post about Jasmine Crockett being a no-show diva boss. And what did she do to confront this? Went online to talk about how she is a great boss and basically not really an influencer, even though she's quoting Beyonce and, she has her hair done, all from the safety of her own apartment in, I believe, D.C. She erupted with laughter when asked about the New York Post report during an interview with Major Garrett on CBS News. Just listen to the quote. "Oh my goodness, listen. I know that I have arrived, honey. That is the way that I see this." Now, I may be a stuffy old white man, but when I see a member of Congress and responding like this to a news story about her managerial style of her office, I'm sorry, but that just seems to feed into what they were saying about you. I mean, you're not taking this seriously? Cool. Maybe you'll be the one that gets gerrymandered out after Governor Abbott has his way. And 2026 will be lots of fun for you in that respect. That's it for me, man. You good?
At least she got her head, dude.
You gotta out-joke me, man. I thought I was doing good there. Listen, I don't mind if you want to be an influencer. I don't mind if you want to be a member of Congress. Just don't. You can't be both, really. I mean, everybody wants to be AOC these days. It's stupid. Nobody's. And meanwhile, you know what? I'll take it back. Do it as much as you want, because I think that's why people like Donald Trump and why Republicans hold office right now.
I agree.
So maybe on second thought,
please.
You know what? Just rewind all that. You do you, hun. You do you. All right. You ready to shut this sucker down here or what, man?
Let's get out of here, man.
All right. Listen, great talking to you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in wherever you are watching, whether it be on Rumble, on YouTube, on X, on KLRN Radio. You guys are awesome. We're going to shut this sucker down. See you next week behind enemy lines. Let's play that motherfucking anthem, and I'll see you guys in the comments making fun of Galloway. Till next week, folks. Take care. Good night. God bless.
Not allowed, not without electoral.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear?
Teeth, don't let them have sway. Conservative battalions walking them out, marching through the streets while the buffoons all shout. Move in the shadows, flag on my chest, repping my clan, putting faith to the test. Cause left face loose behind enemy lines, fighting for the truth, feels like wartime. Don't back down, keep it rugged and raw. Cool in the chaos, but loud in the roar. But loud in the roar. Thunder, arm in advance. March to the anthem, this is our chance. If I ever stand with a smirk and a gaze, holding down the fort in this Democrat cage.